Most of y'all remember the story of Shawn Oakman, the DN who had his whole career ruined by a lie. He's the beastly looking guy standing here in this picture. You know, that one that goes viral like once every year. Back in 2016, this 6'8", 270-pound kid at the time went all the way from a surefire first round pick to completely undrafted in a matter of weeks. This was after he was accused of SAing a young lady just a couple of weeks before the 2016 NFL draft. After the allegations dropped, an NFC executive was quoted saying Oakman was, quote, undraftable now, as they didn't think the case would get resolved before the start of the draft. And man, was he right about that last part, bro. The case didn't get resolved until 3 years later. Based on the previous information, you'd think it was a long, drawn out trial. But the truth is, the trial itself only took 2 days. It just took 3 years for the trial to get scheduled. But once the trial finally got a court date, it was then settled in relatively short order. The key evidence that convinced the jury was as follows. 1. The surveillance footage of Shawn and the young lady leaving the bar together and interacting closely with no signs of distress or coercion. 2. The text messages exchanged between the two before and after the incident, suggesting mutual interest and flirtation. I mean, before it's like normal, but the after part, like to still be texting afterward in a flirtatious way, you start to see why the case may have ended so quickly. And then for number 3, there was no evidence of physical trauma or abuse, so all signs seem to indicate that the interaction between the two was completely consensual. After just a couple hours of deliberation, he was found not guilty, but by then, his NFL career had passed him by. By the time the trial had concluded, Shawn Oakman from Baylor was really old news. He hadn't played football in 3 whole years, and NFL teams weren't clamoring to sign him. In an attempt to rebuild his football buzz, he played in several minor pro leagues, but never got another chance to even sniff the NFL. Seeing as how he was found not guilty, this was seen as a great injustice, but nothing could be done at that point. That accusation cost him millions. For this reason, Shawn has been the subject of empathy for many of us throughout the years. His life was unfairly uprooted over what the courts deemed to be a pretty clear lie. That accusation was nearly a decade ago, but now Shawn Oakman is back in the news once again for all the wrong reasons. We'll get there in a second, but let me briefly fill out the timeline between the 2019 trial and literally like 1 week ago. In 2019, he participated in 3 leagues: the Spring League, Arena League, and the XFL. In 2020, he re-signed with the XFL and played a full season with that league. In 2021, he played in the fan-controlled football league, and then finally broke into a more stable league, the CFL. And in his first year under that structure, he recorded 6 sacks and was named the CFL All-Star. In 2022, he re-signed with the CFL, making this his official football home. He once again recorded 6 sacks and was named an All-Star for the 2nd straight year. Plus, my man had team success as he helped lead his team to the championship. At that point, he had fought all the way back up from the bottom of the pile. He rebuilt his career, and while it's not the NFL, it's a legit pro league that you don't have to worry about not being around the following year or just straight up folding mid-season. My point is, you can build a stable life and career through the CFL. And I know he lost a lot, but after what he went through, at some point you have to sit back and count your blessings. Quick story. Personally, there was a time in my YouTube career when I dreamed of getting 10,000 views on a video. Then years later came a time when I was unhappy if I didn't not just get 100,000 views, but get 100,000 views in 24 hours. I went through a time like that. Nowadays, I've been through a lot more ups and downs, and through that, I've learned to be grateful for what I have. Whatever number of people decide to lend me their time and attention, I learned to count those blessings. I think it's a good lesson for being grateful for what we have. And that don't mean you ain't striving for more, but at the same time, being appreciative for where you are in your life, because you honestly could have been in a way worse situation. Because just when you think things couldn't be worse, I promise you, dog, they could be worse. So let's try not to get caught up in what we could have had or what we think we deserve and all that type of stuff. Now, while in his situation, I will admit it has to be difficult to think you could have been a first round pick and now you scraping and clawing. But imagine the character he's built through this process. And that character he built up, he's now gonna need to navigate this new situation that he finds himself in. In 2023, he once again recorded 6 sacks, but weird things started happening. On their own, they don't seem like a massive deal, but as they repeat themselves, they start to paint a certain picture. In that 2023 season, Shawn Oakman was a healthy scratch for 3 of the games. That means he was not injured, but just didn't play due to coach's decision 3 times that year. Now keep in mind, bro, we talking about a back-to-back all-star, and the same exact production he had in both of them years, he was having in this year where he was a healthy scratch 3 different times. So that's not nothing. That suggests that the scratches were not performance based, which means that we're most likely gonna be behavior based. Now that could be anything from being late to meetings, disrespecting a coach, or something more serious. I'm not pretending to know. I couldn't find that information. But what I did find was that the same thing happened in 2024. First game of the season, he was a healthy scratch. And then shortly after that game, the 2-time All-Star was just up and released. Now he ended up signing with another CFL team and he finished the season out with them. Then comes this year, 2025. Shawn Oakman signs with the Montreal Alouettes. He played 17 out of 18 regular season games and once again hit his magic number of 6 quarterback sacks. Okay, cool. So he's still productive on the exact same level that he's been for the previous 4 years now. On the eve of the playoffs, the Alouettes up and released a very important and productive member of their defensive line. I mean, this dude is a huge part of their pass rush. Why would they release a guy who has the 3rd most sacks on the team at the most important time of the year? Well, apparently Shawn Oakman was suspended indefinitely, not by the team, but by the CFL for, quote, gender-based violations. Okay, here's what happened. Allegedly, right? Dude allegedly threatened to send explicit material to the child of the woman he was actively dating. The child is a minor and the CFL rightly saw these actions as a clear violation of their policies and booted dude out of their league indefinitely. If, and that's if, this is true, I'm saying that he threatened to do this, even if he didn't go through with it, but just threatened to do it. If that's true, that is absolute clown behavior. What grown man have a dispute with a woman and then threatens to not just bring her child into it, but to do it in a way that's so vile and disgusting? And I guarantee you somebody seeing this and saying to themselves, well, if he didn't actually do it, what's the problem? And this is my opinion, understand? This is my opinion. But the problem is a grown man who thinks like this, who thinks of this as a solution to dealing with an issue with the woman. This behavior is that of a depraved child. A grown man who thinks like this needs to do some soul searching and really grow. I can't say what I want to say. I'm trying to stop using profanity. He needs to really grow up. Like, to reflexively threaten to do something like this means your reflexes and instincts are so out of pocket that you can't even trust yourself to make any sound decisions once your emotions raise just a little bit. As men, we're designed to be the leader and we're not gonna be perfect, but this type of stuff is just wild to me. And if you think like this, even you know that you're currently unfit for that role. I got a massive problem with adults in general who have disputes and then pull the kids into it. But from a man specifically, bro, you're a protector. Somebody that's got to be at least of decent moral character. That's the standard that we need to start measuring ourselves up against. And look, bro, sometimes you'll fall short, but as long as you measuring yourself against that standard, you know where you need to work to get to. It sucks because reflexively, this incident makes you want to dig back into Shawn's old rap sheet. It kind of forces you to re-examine that stuff. And while the evidence found him to be innocent in the 2016 case, he does have some other things in his past that suggest that he has issues in his dealings with women. Back in 2012, before he was at Baylor, dude got kicked off the team at Penn State. Here's the report filed by the University Police Chief Tyrone Parham. Here's what he said. Oakman entered the store and presented his student ID to purchase some items. However, the store clerk noticed that Oakman had hidden a hoagie and a bottle of grape juice on his purse and held on to the student's ID. In an attempt to recover the ID, Oakman shoved the employee against the wall. As is common on Shawn's rap sheet, that store clerk was a female. This is what led to him being kicked off the team at Penn State and going to Baylor. In just 6 months after the cafeteria incident, he has another incident with a young lady. He was accused of grabbing the female under her arms and shoving her into brick walls and cabinets in her apartment. I'm reading this stuff like, bro. So at this point, Shawn has a pretty lengthy rap sheet when it comes to crossing the line with the opposite sex. The text messages said to still be of the flirtatious variety coming from both parties after the 2016 accusations make it tough to believe he was guilty in that case, but there's clearly something here when it comes to this dude dealing with women. There's something that's not right. This type of stuff oftentimes stems from a deep insecurity. But as men who claim we not emotional, we oftentimes don't know what emotion we're feeling because we're not skilled in dealing with our emotions, so everything just comes out as anger. Work on yourself. Build a relationship with God. These are the first steps to growing past this behavior. And I ain't saying it's gonna be easy because it ain't gonna be easy. When has anything good ever been easy? It's honestly a ridiculous expectation to have, but it starts with the acknowledgement. Then you can actually accept the accountability and form a real desire to actually be better. That's where it starts. Like when you wanted to be better at football, you took your butt to the gym. You got on the field. You ran hills. You did hard stuff so you could be better. Everything in life worked the exact same way. The sooner we get that, the sooner we can start to shake back. While in those other incidents, Shawn was still a young kid. Today, he's a fully grown 33-year-old man. He got a second and maybe a third chance, and not just a football career, but re-establishing his whole entire reputation, though it kind of seems like he's determined to squander them both. That said, do you think he was lied on again, or do you think these are actually dude's true colors? I'll say this: if Shawn did anything close to what he's been accused of, I 100% condemn them actions. I don't rock with it. That said though, bro, we all fall short. I know y'all hate when I say this, but it's just the truth. God offers us all a path to redemption, and that's no matter how many times or how hard we fall. But here's the thing. Don't play with him though. I'm not saying you won't mess up after you say you won't mess up. I'm just saying make a sincere effort. He knows your heart, so you can't game the system. With him, them crocodile tears ain't gonna work. Anyway, that's all I got for y'all today. Pray for Shawn Oakman. Maybe his name once again will be completely exonerated. Or if he did threaten to do this and then consequently ruin the career he fought so hard to reestablish, let's pray that he can find the strength to fight through this and better himself, not just succumb to all the negativity that I'm sure he is feeling.